Alberto Cottica, come on up. My apologies to my Italian friends.
My apologies for my English. Hello everyone, buenas tardes a todos, and my apologies for not being able to greet you in Catalan, which I don't speak. So, think back about the 90s. There was a promise there. ICT would make government good. It would make it efficient, transparent, user-friendly. But 15 years down the line, it didn't quite turn out this way. Only some of the public services are fully interactive, and citizens do not seem to have bought that much into the whole issue. We have a serious fail history here. But why did this thing fail? Well, consider this. Experience on the social media tells us that everything interesting depends on connections. So think, for example, in the government world, the opportunities to learn from a colleague or the opportunities to push through your agenda. And connections scale much faster than the number of nodes. So there may be simply not enough of us. So look around you. This is PdF. You are, therefore, Europe's policy geeks. You are the people who really get the stuff. Hey, you know, how many? Maybe a few hundred based on PdF attendance last year. And then there's people who are not here, they don't quite come to international conference, but they still get the stuff and they still are involved in trying to make an impact and pushing through this agenda. Based on informal surveys that I've been conducting with some of you, maybe a few thousand. Well, the news is in Europe there's 40 million employees in the larger version of the public sector, which is administration, defense, education, and healthcare. So for every person who cares, there's roughly 10,000 people who don't. And so maybe this is why we don't make an impact. There's just not enough of us out there. We get lost in the crowd. It's very hard even to make connections. I would suggest that in order to face the challenge, we need to scale. We need to scale, I would say, by 2 orders of magnitude, or a factor 100. So the question is, how do we do that? You know, where can we find 400,000 people to recruit onto this endeavor? Well, there is an asset. I've been thinking there is an asset which maybe we are not quite exploiting to its full potential. And it's websites run by the public authorities. Turns out there's a lot of them. Italy, Registro.it reports about 25,000 websites directly owned by public authorities. Project over Europe, back of the envelope calculation, anything between 100,000 and 500,000. And these are just the, directly owned. But then there's stuff like European Commission DG Regio project. That's 350 billion euro over a 7-year framework program. We could say there's roughly 350,000 projects out there, and each of them is a website. They are not owned by the public authorities, but they are funded by public money, and they do have some kind of common good goal. So who runs these websites? Because it's really interesting. Each of these, okay, let's try to guess a kind of grand total. Anything goes. Anything from 500,000 to maybe 2 million Europe-wide. I don't know. I'm just, your guess is as good as mine. This is just an educated guess. But that's a lot of conversations you can start. That's a lot of channels through which you could potentially engage citizens and make policy better. But who runs them? In my experience, just about anybody. Junior civil servants, well-meaning consultants, community leaders, even interns. Each of them has a little money and a little mandate towards the public good. The good news is almost all of these people fight for the good. I have yet to meet a public servant who is not passionate about what he does. I don't think there is any lack of goodwill out there. I really think that if we go to these people and we make a convincing case, we say, hey, here's a great tool, you can use it, it's not that hard, you can get it, you can use it, you can become a valuable connector between your administration and the citizenry. They will listen, they might actually go for it. And how do you do that? Well, here's what I did. I wrote a book. I wrote a book in Italian, in the Italian language, because the people I'm talking about, most of them will not actually pick up a book in English and read it cover to cover. This may vary across European countries, but it's certainly true for Italy. I filled it with references to the Italian context. This is to avoid the inferiority complex. Yes, this can never work here. You know, this is an example from Sweden, and the Swedes are so well organized. I imposed on myself a strict ban on geek speak and econo speak, which was very hard, I can tell you. And I filled it with war stories, with reports from the trenches. Also, it helps that I, just like you, have a relatively strong online presence. I have my own blog, and I'm present in the main social media. So this is what I did. And here's a proposal for what you can do. Do the same in your own country, in your own language, with reference to your own context, and I'm actually willing to help. What can I bring to the table? Well, the book is there, of course, but this is easy. More interesting is that I already ran a participatory phase, June 2010. I put a draft of a book on my blog and invited comments, and comments came. 45 people, not all of these were Italians. By the way, there's 3 PdF speakers among the 45 people who commented, so that's a very qualified audience. Almost 180 comments received, and they helped me to fact-check all of these stories and give it more detail and more depth. I ran some experiments on how to make the book more fun and more accessible. This, for example, is a visual index. You can build on my successes, and you can avoid my mistakes, which are, I assure you, quite a lot. And I secured the endorsement of a legion of superheroes of wiki government, people who have been working in prestigious positions or are still working with or for the White House, the World Bank, the Italian state, the European Commission, the Council of Europe, and academia. So it's a serious proposal. You could come back next year to PdF and present your own book. I'm very willing to help. I'm easy to Google. This is my email. So if you want, I'm here.
Can I ask you a quick question? Sure. And is the book, the royalties from the book are all going to...
Oh. I don't think there's going to be very many of them, so we didn't even think to ask a question.
Okay.
We printed 1,000 of the books, so my share of this open data here is 7% on the cover, which is about €1,000 in all. I'm very willing to devolve it to some charity.
Okay.
That's certainly not the point of the exercise. So yes, maybe I should have said that. You won't make any money out of this, but it's a fun thing to do. You will make friends.
Join the club. Okay. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Alberto.